They say luxury has no limits, but what if it does? What if one of the most respected car makers in the world spent hundreds of millions building the ultimate luxury car, and almost nobody wanted it? This is the story of Maybach, a name that once meant royalty, prestige, and power. But when Mercedes brought it back in the early 2000s, things didn't go exactly as planned. Now, before we dive deeper, I'm on a mission to hit 1,000 subscribers, and if you're into wild car stories, luxury machines, and the drama behind the badge, then you're in the right place. Tap that like button, hit subscribe, and let's ride. So how did Mercedes go from resurrecting a forgotten legend to quietly killing it just a few years later? Why did the Maybach 57 and 62, literal palaces on wheels, fail to leave a mark in the world of the ultra-rich? Let's go back to the beginning, and I promise, this story is anything but boring. Before it was a Mercedes badge, before it became just a luxury trim level, Maybach was something else entirely. A name that screamed power, precision, prestige. It all started way back in the early 1900s. Wilhelm Maybach, ever heard of him? He was the genius behind some of the very first Mercedes cars. He worked side by side with Gottlieb Daimler himself. But Wilhelm had a vision, a dream, and he wasn't going to settle for being just a supporting act. So he and his son Karl started their own company, Maybach Motorenbau, and they weren't building cars for average folks. No way. These machines were designed for emperors, industrial tycoons, the absolute elite. And get this, before they built cars, they built engines. Not just any engines. Engines for zeppelins. Yeah, those massive floating airships that ruled the skies before jets came around. That's how far back this legacy goes. Then they took all that tech and dropped it into a car. The result? Absolute madness. The Maybachs of the 1920s and 30s were insane. Handcrafted, insanely smooth, ridiculously powerful, and so expensive only the richest Europeans could afford one. Think of a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Now make it German, even more rare, and built like a tank. That was Maybach. But then, everything changed. World War II hit, and just like that, the whole game stopped. Maybach shifted to military work. After the war, Germany was in ruins. Nobody was buying luxury cars. Heck, nobody could. And so, the Maybach name just vanished. Silent, forgotten, a ghost in the history books. For decades, it was gone. Until Mercedes, the very brand Wilhelm helped shape, decided it was time for a resurrection. Fast forward to the late 1990s. Mercedes-Benz was on top of the world. Their S-Class dominated the luxury sedan game. Their engineering? Legendary. Their reputation? Untouchable. But Mercedes wanted more. They weren't just chasing BMW or Audi. They had their eyes on the real giants. Rolls-Royce and Bentley, the ultra-luxury league, the top of the top. And guess what? They didn't want to build a better S-Class. They wanted to build something beyond it, something that would make billionaires raise their eyebrows. So what did they do? They reached into their history books, found the long-forgotten Maybach name, and said, let's bring it back, and not just as a trim level or badge. They were going all in. Full-blown brand resurrection, from scratch. The world first saw the concept in 1997, and when the production models finally rolled out in the early 2000s, the Maybach 57 and 62, jaws dropped. You want to know what those numbers meant? It wasn't horsepower, it wasn't engine codes, it was length, 57 and 62 decimeters long. That's over 6 meters of luxury rolling down the street. Absolute monsters. These things weren't just sedans, they were luxury limousines for the gods. Massage seats? Of course. Fridge? Naturally. Champagne flutes? Built-in phone? Suede headliner? A V12 engine that purred like a panther in a tuxedo? You bet! And the sound insulation? Unreal. You could be blasting down the Autobahn and whisper sweet nothings in the back seat without raising your voice. It was a fortress of silence. Everything, and I mean everything, was designed to pamper the passenger. The rear seats reclined like a first-class airline pod. You didn't drive a Maybach, you were driven in one. They weren't just chasing perfection, they were chasing the crown. And honestly, it looked like they had it in the bag. A fortress of silence, a V12 symphony, luxury dripping from every surface. On paper, it was unbeatable. But here's the thing. Just because you build the ultimate luxury machine doesn't mean people will actually buy it. Wait, what? How is that possible? How do you go all in on ultra luxury and still end up with cold showrooms and crickets? Well, here's where things get interesting. First off, the design. Sure, the Maybach was smooth, elegant, refined, but it also looked kinda like a stretched-out S-Class. That was the problem. For a car that cost over $350,000, people wanted more than just a fancy Mercedes. They wanted a statement, a spectacle. When you're dropping Rolls-Royce money, you don't want something that could be mistaken for a regular Benz by your neighbor's grandma. You want heads to turn. You want people to whisper when you pull up. The Maybach? It was too understated, too quiet. And the buyers in that market? Oh, they don't do quiet. Luxury is as much about how it makes you feel as it is about what you get. And while the Maybach gave you everything, the feeling, it was missing. Then there's the branding. Maybach hadn't existed for over half a century. Who even knew what it was? Rolls-Royce had mystique. Bentley had heritage. Maybach? To most people, it sounded like a new IKEA cabinet. And to make matters worse, Mercedes sold the cars through regular dealerships. Yeah. You could walk in to get an oil change for your E-Class and see a $400,000 Maybach parked next to the waiting room. No private salon, no champagne experience, just, hey, want to upgrade? That's not how you sell to billionaires. Meanwhile, Rolls-Royce was giving customers full customization. Personal color palettes, Starry Night headliners, gold trim. Bentley was doing speed and luxury in one package. They knew their audience. Maybach? It felt like Mercedes just added more zeros to a parts list and hoped for the best. And let's talk numbers. Mercedes planned to sell 2,000 Maybachs per year. Guess how many they actually sold in the US at one point? Less than 200 total. Ouch. No matter how good the car was, and make no mistake, it was good, the market just didn't respond. So what went wrong? The tech was insane. The ride was sublime. But the soul? It wasn't there. People didn't fall in love. And in the world of luxury, that's the kiss of death. Now you'd think, okay, maybe regular buyers didn't get it. But what about the rich and famous? Surely the Maybach became the go-to car for celebs, right? Well, kind of. Yes, there were some big names who loved the Maybach. Jay-Z famously rapped about it. Some NBA players rolled around in one. A few A-listers had them parked in their multi-million-dollar driveways. But even then, it didn't stick. See, celebrity hype can give your car some buzz, but it can't build a brand. You need more than a shout-out in a rap song to sell 2,000 units a year. And while the Maybach had some spotlight, it was never a true icon like the Phantom or the Continental GT. And let's not forget, in that ultra-luxury world, status is everything. It's not just about what you drive, it's about what it says about you. And the Maybach? It didn't say enough. It didn't scream royalty like a Rolls. It didn't shout, "I've made it," like a Bentley. Instead, it quietly whispered, "I'm really comfortable." And let's be honest, when you're spending hundreds of thousands on a car, comfort is great, but ego usually comes first. The Maybach was the ultimate backseat experience, but in a world where everyone wants to be seen, it just didn't shine bright enough. Even the marketing struggled. Mercedes couldn't quite figure out how to position it. Was it a rival to Rolls? A luxury S-Class? A chauffeured limo for executives? A sleeper car for stealth wealth? It was trying to be everything. And in doing so, it became nothing to most people. So while a few celebrities loved it, the world didn't follow. The hype fizzled, the buzz died down, and the showroom stayed quiet. And that's when Mercedes realized something had to change. By 2012, it was over. No press conference, no dramatic headlines, just a quiet announcement. Mercedes was discontinuing the Maybach brand. After nearly a decade of trying to crack the ultra-luxury market, they pulled the plug. Production stopped. Dealers cleared out inventory. And just like that, Maybach was gone. Again. It was a strange moment. Mercedes doesn't lose often. But this was a rare miss. They had poured in hundreds of millions, spent years crafting the perfect experience, built a car that, on paper, should have destroyed the competition. So what happened? They misread the room. Mercedes tried to engineer their way into a world where emotion rules everything. In the ultra-rich world, buying a car isn't about logic. It's about feeling, identity, legacy. And Maybach, as amazing as it was, didn't give people that spark. It was too corporate, too calculated, too quiet. And you know what? Mercedes admitted it. They didn't sugarcoat it. They didn't blame the economy. They just said, this didn't work. And in a way, that honesty, it was refreshing. They learned a valuable lesson. You can't just resurrect a name and expect the magic to come back. You've got to build a story, create a movement, give people a reason to care. So yeah, the Maybach 57 and 62, they were luxurious, comfortable, technically brilliant. But they were also gone. And for a while, it looked like Maybach would go back to sleep. Again. As just another chapter in Mercedes' long history. You'd think that was the end, right? That Maybach would fade away. Again. And this time for good. But nope, Mercedes wasn't done yet. In fact, they were just getting started. They didn't abandon the dream. They just changed the strategy. Instead of going head-to-head with Rolls-Royce as a separate brand, Mercedes made a bold move. What if Maybach wasn't its own car? What if it became the ultimate version of something they already did best? Enter the Mercedes Maybach S-Class. Launched in 2015, it wasn't a brand new car. It was a better car, a smarter luxury play. All the brains of the S-Class, but turned up to 11. Longer wheelbase, exclusive materials, private jet vibes in the back, reclining seats, leg rests, silver-plated champagne flutes. Yes, seriously. It was quieter, softer, classier, not flashy, just perfect. And that's the point. The new Maybach wasn't trying to be loud. It wasn't trying to impress anyone on Instagram. It was for people who didn't need to prove anything. People who had already made it. Old money energy, stealth wealth, no flex needed. And guess what? It worked. The Mercedes Maybach S-Class quietly crushed it. It sold better than the original Maybach ever did. And this time, no confusion. No weird branding. No clunky marketing. It was simple. Want the best Mercedes possible? You buy the Maybach. And finally, that name, Maybach, started to mean something again. Not as a failed rival to Rolls, but as the ultimate expression of Mercedes excellence. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They just polished it until it shined brighter than ever. All right, so you've nailed the ultra-luxury sedan game. What's next? Go electric, but make it Maybach. Welcome to the Mercedes Maybach EQS SUV, the future of luxury, and it's whisper quiet. This isn't just Mercedes going green. This is Mercedes saying, yeah, we can save the planet, and still ride like royalty. The EQS SUV takes everything that makes the Maybach S-Class great and pushes it into the next dimension. Massaging seats? Check. Scented air system? Yup. Ambient lighting that literally adapts to your mood? Of course. And get this, the cabin is so quiet, you can hear your own heartbeat. No joke. But don't let the silence fool you. This thing moves. With over 650 horsepower and instant torque, the Maybach EQS SUV isn't just a gentle cruiser. It's a silent rocket. And it's not just about speed or luxury. It's about image. Because today's ultra-rich want more than just leather and chrome. They want sustainability, innovation, exclusivity. And this car, it checks every box. The exterior, sleek. Chrome heavy. Flashy in a tasteful way. That massive front grille, it's fake, but it still slaps. The interior? A full-on lounge, pillows, screens, executive class everything, rear seats that recline so far back you could take a nap on the Autobahn, if you had a driver, of course. This isn't just the future of Maybach, it's the future of high-end luxury. No V12S, no drama, just smooth, clean power and ridiculous comfort. And here's the crazy part. People love it. The Maybach EQS SUV is selling, and not just in Europe or America. It's huge in Asia, the Middle East, and anywhere billionaires want to glide silently past the peasants. The lesson? Mercedes figured it out. They evolved. They adapted. They understood that luxury isn't frozen in time. It moves, and they moved with it. So now that we've seen it all, the rise, the fall, the quiet comeback, and the electric revolution, we have to ask, why did Mercedes even bring Maybach back in the first place? And why did they let it die? Twice? It's simple. The first Maybach revival was a flex. Mercedes wanted to show the world they could beat Rolls-Royce at their own game. They went big, bold, over the top, but they forgot one thing. Luxury isn't just about features. It's about feeling. And the Maybach 57 and 62, as technically perfect as they were, they didn't make hearts race. So they pulled the plug, but not out of defeat, out of clarity. Mercedes realized something huge. They didn't need a separate brand to build the world's most luxurious cars. They were the brand. So they reinvented Maybach, not as a rival to themselves, but as a crown on their own head. The modern Maybach isn't about showing off. It's not screaming for attention. It's smooth, confident, elegant, powerful in its silence. And that's the twist. They didn't really kill Maybach. They just stripped it down and rebuilt it stronger. Not louder, but smarter. It's not for the guy chasing status. It's for the one who's already there. So yeah, the old Maybach is dead. But the idea, the soul, the promise of ultimate luxury, that's very much alive. Today, the Maybach name carries a whole new meaning. It's not about flashy logos or screaming for attention anymore. It's about refined, understated luxury that whispers success instead of shouting it. Maybach today is the epitome of old money cool, a symbol for those who know true opulence doesn't need to be loud. It tells the world that you don't need to flex if you're already at the top. With the modern Mercedes Maybach offerings, you get the best of Mercedes engineering merged with a level of comfort and elegance that's almost otherworldly. Think about it. It's a car that lets you glide through life with ease, with every detail meticulously designed for your enjoyment. From the whisper-quiet cabins to the innovative tech that makes every journey a serene escape. The new Maybach isn't just a car. It's an experience. It's where tradition meets innovation, and luxury gets a 21st century upgrade. So what does Maybach really mean today? It means evolution. It means reinvention. It means that the essence of ultimate luxury isn't in ostentatious displays, but in the quiet confidence of knowing you've arrived without ever having to say a word. And now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of the modern Maybach? Is it a bold reinvention or a subtle shift in luxury? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of Maybach, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for more epic car stories. Because here we don't just talk about cars, we experience them.